Hello everyone, and welcome back to DMG. I've always loved the clean, understated look of business laptops. They're simple, yet elegant. They don't scream, "Look at me," yet they still stand out, they're still noticeable, and they're still beautiful. You usually find them in subdued colors. Black with silver accents is the most common, but sometimes you'll find them in dark gray and etc. They're never in, flashy colors that really stand out. They kind of go under the radar. All of that considered, it's not like you'll find a Dell Latitude in bright, sparkly red or anything, right? Wrong. This laptop, which has appeared next to me, looks like a regular Latitude E6400. It's black, it's got a Core 2 Duo sticker. It's a laptop. Until you look at the lid, or the bottom, or the sides. They're all painted in a lovely, sparkly red color. Now this is no aftermarket paint job. This is the limited edition red Latitude E6400. These are pretty rare, so I'm very glad to have this, and I got it for a not exorbitant price, so it's quite a nice thing to have. Although it's in pretty good condition, it does need a little bit of work. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. Let's get right into it. It's the red case that makes these so special and desirable. Finding one with all the red pieces in place is pretty rare. Now, mine does have some chips and scuffs and scratches, but I feel like it still looks pretty good. I do need to remove these stickers, and when I got it, the hard drive caddy was taped on because these drive caddies, this piece just falls off unless there's a drive in there, and the tape the seller used to secure it is like the strongest tape I have ever used. Like, this tape just will not come off. So I will find some ways to dissolve the glue without hurting the nice red finish. But on the sides here, we can see that pretty much every detail was paid attention to. Every minor thing has been painted red. And it's in the metal itself. It's not just like a coat over it. So it's actually a quite nice paint job. Now over here, the only red thing really is the hard drive caddy. The screen latch, the button is red in the front. Unfortunately, we don't get a red blank SD card, but what we do get red is the optical drive bezel. And yeah, that's it for the special painted stuff. Now this laptop does work, and I will demonstrate the fact that it works to you by turning it on. We hear the optical drive. Come on. There we go. So it boots up just like any other Latitude E6400. It came with no battery, so I swapped in an aftermarket battery that I had lying around, and that's been working pretty well so far. But let me get into the issues this thing has. Other than being a little bit dirty, it does have some issues that actually pertain to the computer itself. Easiest to fix, dead CMOS battery. Now the CMOS battery in these is not a CR2032, it's a tiny little rechargeable battery, and let me show it to you right now. These rechargeable batteries often last longer than conventional CMOS batteries if the laptop is consistently used. But if it's been unplugged for several years, these batteries run down and then they won't charge anymore. I do have a replacement, but this is also from like 20 years ago, so I don't know how well this one is going to work. But no harm in swapping it in and trying. Our next problem is that I can't find the right screws for the SATA caddy. Now this seems really lame, but I promise it's actually really hard to find screws because they go all the way down through the case into the drive. So they need to be like 15 millimeters long. And I don't have any screws that are exactly that size. I have ones that are way too short and a few that are a little too long, but none that actually fit. So I might just have to, you know, order some screws to go in the caddy because it keeps falling out, held in just by the SATA connector on the motherboard. Now on to our more serious issues that really inhibit the functions of this machine. Now, the BIOS battery being dead, it takes 1 to 3 minutes to boot up through the BIOS every time you turn this on, and it's been disconnected like from AC power or the battery has died, which is really bothersome. It's having to reinitialize all of the hardware into the BIOS because the battery is dead. So it just takes a really long time. The next bad issue is this SATA port seems to be totally dead. I tried with 3 different SSDs and 4 different hard drives. No signs of life from any. And the hard drives didn't even spin up. I couldn't hear or feel them spinning. None of them recognized in the BIOS or in Windows. So I got this machine with no hard drive. I have a feeling it was violently removed and it broke the SATA power connector in there. I don't think it's a chipset issue because the hot swap optical drive bay, I popped an SSD in here in an adapter and it actually worked just fine. Installed Windows on it, and that's when I ran into the next issue. There is some big problem in the system firmware that controls the CPU clock. It's not running anywhere near its full multiplier. In fact, about a quarter of it. It came originally with a Core 2 Duo P8400, which only ran at 0.59 gigahertz. It's rated for 2.26, I believe. So it running at 25% of its clock multiplier is a serious issue. I thought it might just be the CPU, so I swapped in a T9900 and it had the same problem, but it did run at a slightly higher clock speed, still in the triple-digit megahertz range though, so that's unacceptable and unusable for a Core 2 Duo. So all of that considered, I may have to replace this motherboard, which again, I'm not too sad about. Motherboards for these are pretty easy to find, and the actual rare desirable part is the red case. So that's what I'm mainly glad to have. I was about to order a motherboard off eBay when I realized, wait, I might actually have one of these lying around, and indeed I do. I've pulled the RAM and the hard drive and all that stuff from it years ago, but I just thought, maybe the motherboard in here still works. So I'll be pulling out this motherboard, seeing what I can do with swapping it into the other machine, and if that solves the issues, I will be very, very happy because then I won't have to buy a new motherboard. I've already got one right here. Now this one is pretty scuffed. It's got some dust and some scratch marks on it, and the screen is totally shattered. Oh, that actually reminds me, there's one last failure. The screen latch is broken off on the screen side, but it's separate from the lid, so I believe if I disassemble the screen of this laptop, I'll be able to just pull that out. So yeah, actually a pretty extensive list of repairs to be doing on this. So I will set it off to the side, and as always, it's better to start off disassembling a broken machine, learning how to get the motherboard out. So that is what I will do. Because, you know, if I break a piece of the case, it'll just be this black one that's already very dead and 4 parts. It won't be the rare red one. And this does have the magnesium frame that old Latitudes of the time do, so it's a very sturdy laptop. Oh, these screws that I'm taking out of the chassis might actually be the right length for the hard drive. I'm just going to hope that's the case. That would be very nice and very convenient if that was true. Also, I'll salvage the remaining parts from this machine, like the keyboard and touchpad, now that I have other old Latitudes to swap them into in case of failure. So does this keyboard, yeah, this keyboard comes out from the top. So while I'm thinking about it, I'll go ahead and take out the keyboard and the speakers. Oh. Yeah, excuse me, it's my first time working on one of these in such a capacity. I'm used to just swapping a few components like RAM, SSD, etc. So, yeah, it's my first time actually having to take the board out. Again, this machine is totally dead, except for hopefully the motherboard. So, you know, I don't have to be as careful as I normally would be with it. Ooh, that's some dust on the bottom of the keyboard from the fan. And it looks like the actual keyboard itself is bent. I don't think that's my fault. Oh, that's really interesting. The keyboard is actually a rigid PCB that connects with this edge connector down there. And these touchpad buttons are integrated into the keyboard. Yeah, the keyboard plugs into the touchpad. That is very weird. There's our chipset. Or, yeah, because yeah, this is a socket 478 mobile, so it's going to have a north bridge and a south bridge. So this will be the chipset that handles I/O, all of that good stuff. And on the back here, those are actually our RAM chips for the NVIDIA graphics card. I'm finding a good amount of dead bugs in here. That is always reassuring. So this is one of those laptops where you have to remove the keyboard to actually take out the motherboard, which honestly, that's kind of an annoying design. Let me just shake out the dust here. Now I hope this isn't the case, but I might actually have to remove the screen to get the body separated. That would be very annoying if I have to do that. Now here is, I think you can see this. This is the little latch part on the lid. So this is what the latch actually clips into. So if I disassemble the inside of the lid on the other laptop, I should be able to easily swap in this clip, which is nice. If I take this whole thing off, then I will be able to actually, you know, take the top cover of the laptop off, because it feels like the hinges are obstructing it from coming off. Okay, and here's our LCD. Whoops. Also, don't remove a screen like that because you will break it. Don't touch. I'm touching it. Oh, that's cool. So those are just a little backlight. Okay. So yeah, make sure to carefully handle LCD screens because you might accidentally break them if you don't. Also, make sure you don't do that with a CCFL because if it's a CCFL, it will shatter. And that is not fun to clean up. Mercury-coated glass. It's just held on by these cables. Again, typically one would want to be a lot more careful when working on a laptop, but since this one is totaled, there's really no reason to. Oh wow, this is a nice heavy hinge assembly. Also, the hinges on the red one are getting a little loose, so I might actually end up swapping in hinges from this one if I need to. Oh, wow. You might have seen that, but the hinge just flew up and almost hit me. Well, it did hit me. It was just on my arm, not on my head, luckily. Okay, so if you had a modem card installed, whoa! The models without a modem jack actually have the jack. That's crazy. So they have the jack. They just don't have the card, like where it would plug in there typically. Okay, there's a screw around there that's holding it in. Problem is, I don't see any screws. Oh, it was under the cables. Okay. So I'm not a complete idiot. All right, here's our top cover. And what I was saying earlier about the keyboard plugging into the touchpad, that's where it does. I can just set this off to the side. And here is our motherboard. Oh, more screws, wow. I'm really not concerned if like stuff in the chassis breaks. Like if the PCMCIA and smart card reader on this laptop break, no problem. I'm just concerned if I if I pull too hard, that it'll rip the port out of the motherboard. And then I won't be able to use those components on the functional laptop, which is not what I want to happen, obviously. Oh, the PC card reader might actually be on the motherboard. Yeah, it's soldered to the board, so I will want to keep that intact. That's funny. Still has its blank SIM card in there. Okay, here is our hopefully working motherboard for the E6400. I think the best way to test this would be just plug in screen and power button. And of course put CPU and RAM in the slots where they go. And if I just plug in those few things, I should be able to get, I should be able to determine if the laptop is working. Oh, another issue with the red one is that the fan never spins up. It could be another issue with the BIOS, or it could be that, the CPU, when running at 590 megahertz, just doesn't put out enough heat to even warrant the fan turning on. And it may very well be the latter, but that doesn't mean I'll rule out the former. So I want to make sure this fan works, but if not, I think I may have a replacement because I keep everything. Also, if you ever work on one of these, I highly advise disconnecting the fan cable before taking the fan out, because it's actually really hard to get the fan out unless you've unplugged the cable. It's very, very, very short. It's funny returning the CPU to the motherboard from whence it came. Oh, here it is. I lost the power button, and that sounds really stupid, but the power button is on a separate board from the motherboard. I'll also connect the the new CMOS battery and see if that improves things at all, so that our motherboard doesn't short out, because I do not want to kill this board. Well, we have a blue power light. That means good. I might actually have to check the footage later to see if it's working, because I'm holding too many things and I don't know if I can look over. Oh no, I very well can. Whoa. Okay, so this motherboard works, and it actually has a newer BIOS. That is amazing. So that solves it. We've got a fresh, perfectly working motherboard. And yeah, all there is now to do is swap it in place of the old one. I learned from the other one, you still have to unscrew the screws on the bottom, but the motherboard actually goes in from the top side. Also, I don't know if it's coming across on camera, but this is a beautiful red. It's not a solid color, it's like a car paint kind of speckled red. And it looks fantastic on this laptop. Again, of all the laptops to be painted red, a Latitude is not, you know, my first choice of things I would think would be red. But that makes it all the more intriguing that I have one in front of me. For good measure, I'm going to take out all of the screws, including, you know, just the ones holding on the Wi-Fi card, because who knows if they go to anything else in the case, and I don't want to risk breaking any part of this red system. Oh, I suppose there is one difference with the speaker grills. Let's see, is this one? Yeah, I feel like this is a more blue color on the black model, and on the red model, the speaker grill is just a solid black. I will say it would be really cool if on the keyboard they had made some of the keys red. Like, sorry, let me just get this out here. Like where they use blue, like the accents, I think on the red model it would have been really, really awesome if that had been replaced with red. Oh wow, that is a different keyboard. Reminder that companies pretty much never get things from the same supplier. They mix and match suppliers. Whoever can offer them the Latitude E6400 keyboard for the cheapest price, that's the one Dell buys. Another example, the RAM chips for the NVIDIA graphics card are from a different manufacturer than on the other board. Oh, these plastic snaps make me so nervous. I feel like I'm just going to shatter the screen. So, it looks like I'm replacing this with the screen bezel from the other machine, because this one has bent in a few places and it's a bit more scuffed. Yeah, for some reason this one was far harder to get off, and you can see I bent it accidentally. I needed to take this off because, you know, I have to take it off to get to the screen screws. Or sorry, the screen screws, when screwed in, prevent access to me taking the motherboard out. But this also gives me an opportunity to replace the screen latch. This tiny little module up here, again, that's what the latch switch on the bottom locks into to keep the lid closed when so desired. There's just a pile of laptop parts on the floor now. About what I would expect. Oh, I actually do need to take those out. Pro tip, put the screen all the way flat when you're doing this, else you have to hold it up so that it doesn't bend the thin metal housing of the screen, which might shatter the LCD. So the screen assembly has a special red part number. It's made by Foxconn, and on the inside it says JBL00 LED cover red sub assembly, which that's neat. I think I should have unscrewed the hinges from here first. I thought the hinges could stay in the body, but I suppose they also must be detached, which is a little annoying. Again, you would think swapping a motherboard would be easier than dissecting the entire laptop. Well, that was a nightmare. I really should have taken out every single screw. There were some that it seemed like I would be clear without removing, but clearly not. I was very wrong there. I've always considered these to be good repairable laptops, but they have ruined that reputation for me today. I think there's a few more screws in this bay that I have yet to remove. Yes, there are 2 more here, but then I'll be able to take off the top and put our new board in. Okay, here it is. Time to get this board out. Wow, okay, that was a mess, but here is our probably dead board. Again, I'll do some more tests with it, but I have a feeling it is just cooked, not savable. Did that just go in? Yeah, that just went in. Wow. Yeah, here is our new board. I'm very proud of what I have done. Now it's time to start screwing this guy back in. Okay, now here's probably the hardest part, is putting it all back together, making sure all the connectors are plugged in as they should be, where they should be. Okay, good, that's all together. I think that's speakers, that's maybe the touchpad. Again, I'm having trouble remembering where everything goes because there's so much. Also because this piece fell off the hinge, I'll have to stick it on and then calibrate the hinge again, which is annoying. There we go. So I'll have to turn it to the exact angle that this one is, or else the screen will be all weird and lopsided. And that is not what I want. I'm also trying to remember, on the other one I do believe that the latch went over the board, but I can't be completely sure. No, it would have to, yeah. And that's why it has these scuffs on the board. Some of these connectors are barely long enough, so you really have to jam them down with your fingernail to get them in, and that is what makes me nervous. We have a ribbon cable to nowhere. So I'll check on the other machine to see if I can identify what that is for. I have no clue what that goes to. I guess I'll just, you know, find out what it is later when it doesn't work. Computer repair can be very, you know, calming and therapeutic, or it could be like this. That should just go on. So I'm not sure why it is not. It is really tricky to route the cables through the hinges, is what I'm finding. Ooh. There's a lot of force needed to rotate the hinges as well. So if you ever need to adjust them, it's quite hard. But yeah, running the cables is pretty difficult because the hinge mounts in a certain place, so that can't be obstructed. But that's like just a few millimeters away from where the wires run. So if they slip out of place, then you can't install the hinge. It seems like using a spudger to push the cables into where they should go while putting pressure on the hinge to snap it back into the case, that is the most effective method. So now it's time to apply a ridiculous amount of force to fold down the hinges, and then I'll match it on the other side with this one. so that I can mount my LCD. Wait, oh, it's from the other laptop. Okay, I was so confused because I pull out the other hinge cover and I'm like, wait, that's another Ethernet, but it's a display port over here. Oh, okay. I think it's all aligned properly. I just need to, I think, bend that hinge a tiny bit. There we go. Perfect. Now this is when I remind you that an LCD screen is extra fragile when the back is exposed. You can flex it really easily, as I demonstrated with the one that I snapped earlier in the video. That these annoying plastic snaps aren't quite going onto the case. Oh, it's because the Wi-Fi card... Oh no. I squished the Wi-Fi card beneath the motherboard. Let's see if I can fish it out here. Yeah, I'll get this keyboard all snapped back in, and then I think we should pop the battery in it and try it out. Of course, after I've connected the screen cables on the back. Kind of an odd angle you have to put this heatsink on at, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too hard. Oh, yes, our screen latch works. That's a thing I'll have to be mindful of. I can't just open this easily anymore. I'm a fan of screen latches because I often just carry my laptop under my arm and I don't want it to just open. Please work. Moment of truth, come on. Let's hope you were just doing some BIOS stuff. Yes, oh good. Gonna run setup. And our fan's spinning up. Ah, shit. So yeah, our processor is probably running at the clock speed it should be because it's overheating because I didn't put thermal paste on it, thinking that it wouldn't overheat after just a few seconds for testing. So that's fantastic. I've fixed it. Paste is so dry and cracked that it couldn't even be cleaned off with like alcohol, so I had to just scrape it off. Now I'm gonna go clean it off. Oh, there we go. It wasn't on the CPU yet. I will say I am very, very happy with how these repairs turned out. I'm extremely satisfied. So now we have a rare red edition Latitude E6400. Oh, also I put the hopefully good CMOS battery in. You can do wireless wide area network, wireless personal area network, which I did not know was a thing until right now. Yeah, this laptop has a lot of weird slots for a lot of weird cards that aren't made anymore. WWAN even is starting to go out of fashion. Let's see. That's it. Now all we need is the optical drive and, oh, of course, the... there we go. I think I'm gonna screw this in, even though it is a hot swap module. I'm gonna screw it in because, never mind, I don't have the right screw. I was thinking I might want to screw it in so that I don't accidentally knock it out here. I just want something faster than a laptop hard drive, God forbid. Let's see. Perfect. Do one more final cable squish down, and then it's the cable squish down, and then it'll be time to put our bezel on. Now it's time for the embezzlement. I also bent this one, god damn it. These are very thin plastic. It's quite easy for a finger to go astray. Oh, okay. I'll need to take our optical drive back out because the screws that hold the speaker grill on are under the optical drive on the inside. Else it just kind of does that. And I still need to clean up the top, of course. That is not something I've forgotten. It's just not something I'll be doing today. Oh wait, the other keyboard, if I can find it. Come on. Sometimes you have to power these on twice if they've forgotten their BIOS information. Yeah, okay, so there was something wrong with the BIOS on the other machine, because this one, even when the CMOS battery is dead, it's not taking like 3 minutes to get into the BIOS. So let me stand up, I can't see. Setup. We'll go to system information. T9900 at 3.06 gigahertz. Sweet, 128 gig SSD is recognized. Awesome. I am so glad that we got this repaired. I think that's where I'm gonna wrap up this video. I'm going to take this home, install Windows on it, and finish the cleaning up process. But I am so glad that we were able to get this fixed, as this is quite a rare machine, and saving another one of these from e-waste, well, you know, it's just a heartwarming thing. But that's where I'm gonna wrap up this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Glad we could find the issue, and well, not to spoil anything, but I've got a lot more laptop projects coming up soon. See you next time.